The first practical train was launched in 1804. It ran on steam and was quite slow, clocking in at around 10 miles per hour. But since then, trains have advanced beyond our wildest imagination. Well, that's what usually happens with technology. It starts off as an idea and then goes on to change the world as we know it. The same change was kickstarted by that first steam locomotive. Fast forward a couple of centuries, and now we have trains that literally levitate on magnetic rails. This would have been simply unimaginable back then. Not only that, trains can easily go more than 300 miles per hour nowadays, and some can even drive themselves. Suffice to say, we've come really far. But as if all that wasn't enough, there is one country that wants to push the boundary even further with a super ambitious plan. The country is none other than China, and it aims to build an underwater rail line to the United States. If that made you scratch your head, that's understandable. After all, there are so many things that can go wrong with such a plan, and it doesn't even seem possible to begin with. It'll involve coordinating with other countries, building a super long railway track, building rail lines underwater, constantly maintaining it, and of course, paying for all this. But even though this plan sounds crazy, China's apparently really serious about it, and somehow, if they pull this off, it's going to be one of the most significant projects of the 21st century. So what exactly is China's underwater train project? The details of this plan came out several years ago, and it was called the China-Russia-Canada-America Rail Line. China's aim was to enhance its trade relationships with these countries and make it easier for goods to flow more smoothly. This presumably will do marvels for its economy, which is already the second largest in the world. Historically, trains have done the same wherever they were adopted and spread in the world. According to reports, the high-speed rail line would be 13,000 kilometers long. It would begin in mainland China and then go north to Siberia. Then it would traverse across the vast cold regions of Siberia and venture under the sea through the Bering Strait into Alaska. Then it would cross the rocky topography of Canada's Yukon and British Columbia before finally making its way to the USA. Once it reaches the USA, future plans may include expanding the line across the entire country. It's estimated that this railway line could provide the capacity for about 100 million tons of freight each year for the countries involved. That amounts to approximately 8% of the yearly world freight cargo. Many other parts of Europe would benefit from this project indirectly as well. That's why there have been talks about connecting these countries through one way or the other for decades. It would mark the coming together of vast powers for the greater good and increased convenience in conducting trade. It would also have the added benefit of bringing these countries closer in terms of politics, which can ensure peace and prosperity in the world. As for the design, the plans involve constructing 3 parallel tunnels under the Bering Strait. This would also involve small sections of the rail line that would link to the rail systems on the 2 continents, Asia and North America. The aim is to provide space for two-way traffic. Also, the tunnels would consist of 2 levels. The lower one will allow for the movement of cargo, and the upper one would allow for passenger movement. This would ensure seamless travel across the entire stretch of the railway line. The entire project is currently estimated to take anywhere from 10 to 15 years to construct. Moreover, the rail line would decrease the travel time between countries for the passengers. For instance, it would theoretically take only about half an hour to travel between Russia and the USA. A trip from China to America, however, would take 2 whole days. This is quite a long journey compared to less than a day in the case of an airplane. But if your aim is to travel to different nations in one go and time isn't a factor, this rail line would definitely be the first choice. As you can probably tell, the amount of work that will go into building such a rail line is tremendous and unprecedented. The differences in landscapes and climate are enough to derail it completely. Just imagine all the different types of ground conditions the tunnels have to be built on. There would need to be a high level of coordination between all the countries involved to pull this off. One slight mistake could stop the whole project or delay it considerably. This becomes even more difficult because the countries involved in this project have historically been rivals. Russia and the USA haven't always seen eye to eye, to say the least, and China and the USA are the biggest rivals in the world today. So it would be quite a task for everyone to agree on a single plan. As we all know, political discussions take a lot of time. There are meetings upon meetings, back-channel politics, lobbying, deliberate stalling, and whatnot. Also, other big countries that will be left out of this project might object to it in the larger world forum. So it's safe to say that politics could be an even bigger challenge to the project going ahead than actually building it. Finally, we have the biggest elephant in the room, a price tag of a whopping $200 billion. It remains to be seen whether China would spend all of that money by itself or seek help from other nations. It could very well ask the other countries involved to pay for their share of the rail line, and this is what might stall the project. Since it's China's project and they stand to gain the most from it, other countries might not want to pay or pay it off. So it'll be interesting to see what China decides to do. Will it pay a hefty sum in the short term for even bigger gains in the future? Or will it decide that it's not worth the hassle? Only time will tell. If all else fails, they could always send Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos an email, as they both have around $200 billion in personal net worth. But at least from a technology perspective, engineers in China are confident that such a project can be completed. Even the tricky part, which is the underwater rail line, can be constructed with existing techniques. In fact, the engineers were already in talks with Russia when the report first came out. This shows that they were ready to go ahead with the project as soon as possible, and that wouldn't be the case if they didn't have the necessary know-how. Also, China is not new to the concept of underwater maglev trains. Another project is well under construction, which will connect Ningbo to Zhoushan. The route will stretch 77 kilometers, which includes 16.2 kilometers of an underwater section. Many think that this project is kind of a proof of concept for China for the much larger China, Russia, Canada, America rail line. The success of it might act as the motivation that's required for the bigger project to kick into gear. It would give confidence to the powers that be that it would be worth the time and effort. Also, greater connectivity throughout the world is always a big plus. So, what do you think? Will the project see the light of day? And if so, do you think China can actually pull off this massive job? Let us know what you think by leaving a comment in the comment section down below. That's all for today's video. As always, if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay updated to all of our latest releases. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.